May I have my face? Boom. Oh, there I go. What's going on, people? Welcome to No Cuffs, No Change podcast, where we keep it real, authentic, challenge perspectives, educate the past, present, and future generations. This is your host, Oblack. And our host Liv ain't here right now, man. He'll be back on the next one. Um, we couldn't get the time lined up. He might be back tonight. But I want to take time because we promised that we was going to continue with the explaining election, taking this authentic moment and start educating ourselves, right? So we did it, started with Florida amendments and things like that on the last podcast. If you haven't liked, subscribed, or comment or share it, please go and do that. No Cuffs, No Chains podcast. Definitely exactly how we said. It's how you spell it. No Cuffs, No Chains podcast. If you can't find No Cuffs, No Chains podcast, just put in No Cuffs, No Chains and it'll come up on all platforms. YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, Shopify. Oh yeah, we do have a Shopify page. Any of that. Just put it in and come up. Subscribe, man. Share. So I'm here in California, so I'm voting here. So I was like, you know what? Let me take the time out to go through the ballot. One, I'm not going to start with the people that's on it. I want to start with the props. Go through the props and take time to educate myself because I don't know much about the props. So I'm gonna go over this video real quick to not take too much of y'all time. Go over this video real quick, make my little comments, do what I need to do. We go over there and see if we can understand these props and get to voting because I got to today to turn it in. So hopefully get this done next 30 minutes. I can go ahead and turn this in today. All right, let's get started. Let me go to my screen. Let me share my screen because I like to pull up YouTube. I'm a visual learner. I read it. Then if I don't understand it, I go to YouTube. I don't know if some of y'all like that. Like I said, we're gonna take this time to do an authentic moment to show, hey, look, this is what we're doing to educate ourselves on the ballot, what we're voting for, getting more information. Because, like I said, this is our first year really taking politics really serious, man. So let's go to share screen. Boom. Y'all should be able to see that. Let's blow that up. All right, we're going to jump into this video.
State-of-the-art buildings, but simply to add maintenance to the old classrooms they currently have.
So, as y'all see, this is California. Sorry, I got to put the mic down sometimes because my stand broke. But I'm going to the amendments. So I already started voting on some because I went in. Oh, no, this the people. We can put that down. But this is the props. So we're going to go in through the props. We're going to go in and look it up, research it, and go to filling it in. See if we get a better understanding from this channel. And if not, I'll pull up more information on the internet. But as y'all can see, our last episode with Florida, with Liv, I had to go in and pull up information on the internet to explain the video more better because we had a hard time understanding. Liv had a hard time understanding some of the shit, and me too. So sometimes it's good to just go and read it, and sometimes reading it and pick it up. But it's different type of learners out here. It's more than just individuals that can read it. People can read it and understand it. People got to read it and see it to understand. People got to actually do it to understand. Visual learners, I forgot the rest. You got to look it up. My bad. I'm thinking too much about this ballot to give more information. But all right, let's get into this, man. I talk y'all head off. And he's starting with prop 3 that's on the ballot.
We're not in a position to be able to just rebuild new schools. We just don't have, we're a working class district. The assessed valuation for our properties limits what we can ask the voters because of maintenance.
This is Goss Elementary in the Alum Rock School District. It's considered one of the newest schools in the district because it opened in 1980, 44 years ago. So the maintenance and repair calls are frequent.
In the past, gone out there and took care of the piping, and then still, nevertheless, we still continue to get concerns and they have to be addressed.
which is why board member Andres Quintero is pushing for Proposition 2. Prop 2 would raise $8.5 billion in bonds for schools statewide, another $1.5 billion for community colleges.
Prop 2 does allow us to go ahead and take what we can raise from the voters locally and then draw down some resources from the state bond in order to be able to meet the needs of the district. So it stretches the dollars that we do have.
But the measure is running into opposition from the Santa Clara County Libertarian Party and the president of the Silicon Valley Taxpayers Association.
Concern we have from a libertarian standpoint is that bond measures like home mortgages, they are very deceptive because they tell you it's $10 billion. But what is it really going to cost? By the time you add in principal and interest for 30 or 40 years, it's probably going to be more like $18 to $20 billion.
Mark Hinkle says declining school enrollment in the state ought to nullify the measure.
So why are we investing in more buildings for schools when the enrollment is dropping precipitously?
Quintero says he wishes a proposition wasn't necessary, but in a district with low property tax revenues and aging buildings, Elm Rock says its schools need all the help they can get. Damian Trujillo, NBC Bay Area News.
So that's Prop 2. So basically, you can vote so they can take out a bond. Is 10 billion, I think. Hold on, let me go back. Let me read because I already voted on that one. It's on another page. Yep, authorized $10 billion, increase state costs to about $500 million annually for 35 years to repay the bond. So a bond is something that we have to repay as taxpayers. Taxpayers, voters, we gotta pay this money back to rebuild. So got thinking, okay, you say it's 10 billion, but at the end of it, with interest and shit like that, it could be more. That's the way he's thinking. It could be end up being 18 billion, and then the price of shit is already high. So you want the school to take out a bond, and then we as taxpayers, tax people that vote, have to pay this shit back. So, or we could be on the other side. Doesn't matter. We want to make sure we got good facilities, buildings, and things for kids to go to get their education, leading from pre-K all the way up to including community college. So buildings need to be fixed because they're old, and maintenance. But I'm thinking, like, why don't they have any type of like program or warranty or insurance on these buildings to get these buildings updated every quarter? I mean, a couple of years, a few years, or something like that. I don't know why they don't have that in mind when they build a building, because buildings need to be maintained. So why is no type of insurance or some shit involved? I don't know. I think that I have to learn more information about it. Like I said, I'm taking this authentic moment to learn and educate myself. So you can vote on that, yes or no. So next one is Prop 3. Let's go on and play it.
It was just beautiful. I mean, everyone came from everywhere.
Scenes of a wedding.
My best friends, obviously.
October 5th, 2013.
People from all over California.
A day that Shay and Yolanda Franco-Clausen had long dreamed of.
Like, this is my favorite picture of us.
The wedding day marked their 10-year anniversary together.
It was just beautiful. I mean, everyone came from everywhere.
The couple was on the sidelines in 2008 when California began issuing same-sex marriage licenses, only to see that halted 4 months later when California voters approved Proposition 8, a constitutional amendment that barred same-sex marriages. In 2013, a Supreme Court ruling overturned Proposition 8 as unconstitutional. Several months later, Shay and Yolanda tied the knot.
This commitment was about making sure that two people, doesn't matter their gender, doesn't matter their race, what they look like, can legally be together.
Although Proposition 8 was nullified by the courts, it remains part of California's constitution.
It's still on the books that marriage is between a man and a woman.
Franco-Clausen is now part of the effort to pass Proposition 3 this November, a constitutional amendment that would repeal Prop 8 and declare the right to marry as a fundamental right.
This is going to overturn Prop 8 with Prop 3 to make sure that we say that marriage is between two people that love each other.
For same-sex couples, the battle is both emotional and practical. When Shay and Yolanda married, they gained many legal rights.
What it did for us is now qualify me to be on her insurance.
A number of religious organizations have voiced opposition to Proposition 3, saying it goes against their beliefs.
Obviously, we as a Christian organization, we do believe that marriage is between a man and woman.
Jonathan Keller of the California Family Council also believes the language in Prop 3 is vague and too broad.
Prop 3 removes any boundaries or definitions on marriage. There's no definition under Prop 3 on the genetic relationship between people who could get married, the age of people who could get married, or the number of people who could get married.
That's me and my wife here.
Although Proposition 8 is nullified under court ruling, Franco Clausen worries a change in national political leadership could still threaten same-sex marriages.
We're just preparing California to be a safe haven for those people that are married so that we make sure that it's on the books, it's legal here in California. It's such a great time.
For now, there are wedding moments to cherish.
All of our friends put their fingerprint as leaves on her tree.
And in autumn to carve those rights in stone. Joe Rosado Jr.,
I love her.
NBC Bay Area News. At the edge of Union City.
So we're gonna pause it there real quick. That's Prop 3, basically about same sex. If you for same-sex marriage and you want people to be able to get married legally here in California, then you vote for it. I'm gonna say this: I respect all on this platform. Respect all. Whatever you decide you do, that's your business. We got other episodes where we talk about that. You can go back and listen about same-sex marriage and things like that. You can go back and listen to it and give our opinion as heterosexual Black men. But we're not using today for that. So today, whatever you want to do, you vote for. If you want to vote yes, so you can change the language within the Constitution and replace it, or like the other guy said, I know with law and started studying law, going to school for law, the language, if it's too vague, it can cause an issue. So like he stated, the guy stated, I forgot his name, but like he stated, it's not very, it's vague. So it's not stating age and shit like that. So think about that as well. I don't know if it could be rewritten or written specifically or whatever, but whatever you vote for, there you go. That's explaining Prop 3. Now moving on. And I think this video doing a pretty good job of explaining these here in California.
Land meets bay in the Eden Landing Ecological Reserve. In what was once a patchwork of ponds used to make salt,
got the black-necked stilts,
is a tale of before and after.
Well, this is an actual restored marsh that used to be a dry, crusty salt pond.
A few years ago, David Lewis and his environmental group Save the Bay helped tear down levees holding back the bay, filling a portion with seawater and reviving the bay marsh.
These marshes actually slow down big floods and rising tides to protect the shoreline.
Lewis would now like to see the rest of this area restored, and with Prop 4 California Climate Bond on the state ballot in November, there might be money to fulfill that bucket list item.
Because this vegetation has come in, we have a nature-based solution to sea level rise and climate change. This is exactly what the bond could fund more of.
The bond would pledge $10 billion to a wish list of projects across the state, all in the name of preparing for climate change. Nearly $4 billion would go to clean water and drought programs, $1.5 billion for wildfire and forest resilience, $300 million for climate resilient farms, $850 million for clean air programs, $700 million for parks and open space, and $1.2 billion for coastal resilience, like the kinds of programs Save the Bay is encouraging.
Climate change is bringing lots of impacts right now: fire, flood, drought, sea level rise. We need to respond to all of those threats to protect our society.
Save the Bay has been focused on building living levees that protect bay shorelines while filtering pollutants.
We have decades of work to do to protect San Francisco Bay from sea level rise and climate change. Proposition 4 represents a huge down payment on the work that we need to do.
But some are concerned the payments on the massive bond will draw from the state's general fund for the next several decades.
With interest payments, it'll be $16 billion over the course of the 40-year repayment.
John Copal, president of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, also worries about the bond's wide scope.
The list of projects here is so broad-based, everything from sea level to agriculture. It's a laundry list, kind of a mishmash of all these projects without any clarity as to which ones are going to be financed, which ones have the priority.
There's miles of these levee trails.
But Lewis believes the bond and the many projects it will fund is its strong point.
So these multiple benefits of climate solutions are exactly what the bond is going to help fund.
As the state faces a challenging future from climate change, Lewis and others say this is the time to make a financial stand because the costs of doing nothing now will exact a much larger toll later. Joe Rosado Jr.
Get a nice view of the bay.
NBC Bay Area News.
So going to that was pretty self-explanatory. So let's see what I'm gonna vote for that one. The money, because it's a bond, got to be repaid back. Didn't say that they was taking it from the taxpayers or anything like that. Said it seemed like it was coming from another fund. I have to go back and catch that again, but I'm doing this video real quickly for you guys. Sorry about that. That is my dogs barking in the background. Okay. Yeah. So seemed like it's coming from a certain fund that they have. So but my question would be, why are we having such horrible and bad climate change? My next question would be, shouldn't they be trying to fix this? Because all the fuck ups that they did, and you get it, you don't. But not to go into that, not to stir, but then you could vote for it. Then they talking about, what it would take to pay it back. It ain't coming from us. Don't seem like from what the video is saying. It looks like it's not coming from us. So should we do something now about it? It's best to do something now than not do nothing at all and be prepared. And also make sure we got a concrete plan of getting this done. All right. I put my vote right now. No, I'm gonna wait because I want to see where this money actually coming from. Matter of fact, let's go back.
$300 million for climate resilient farms, $850 million for clean air programs, $700 million for parks and open space, and $1.2 billion for coastal resilience, like the kinds of programs Save the Bay is encouraging.
Climate change is bringing lots of impacts right now. Fire, flood, drought, sea level rise. We need to respond to all of those threats to protect our society.
Save the Bay has been focused on building living levees that protect bay shorelines while filtering pollutants.
We have decades of work to do to protect San Francisco Bay from sea level rise and climate change. Proposition 4 represents a huge down payment on the work that we need to do.
But some are concerned the payments on the massive bond will draw from the state's general fund for the.
Okay, let's look up the state. What is the state's general fund? I'm doing a little research real quick. I'm typing with one hand, so A collection of revenues that are not designed for a specific purpose and are used to fund the general operation of the states. Okay, it says state's general fund is a collection of revenues that are not designated for a specific person and are used to fund the general operation of the state. So you could think, okay, it's not the fund is not for anything specific. So would that be a good would that money for climate change, would that be a good place to put the money if you think it's strategic? Hmm. Okay. Got it. So, I'm gonna skip over it. No, I'm gonna vote and then we're gonna go to the next one. Because I'm thinking right now is like, is it better if we do something now, even though we know where this issue came from? Is it better to do something now or should we wait? That's the way I'm thinking right now. And it seems like it's coming from, like I said, coming from the general fund. So the state's general fund, and seems like look like we don't have to pay that back. Or if you do, my bad, I apologize. I'm getting wrong information, but me Googling accounts of revenue that are not designated for a specific person. Most state purpose of education, health, and human resources and state of prisons comes from the general fund. Okay. So would that be a strategic plan to help? And also the thing I worry about is too, if they're doing what they're supposed to do with the money. But that's another topic for another day. We're gonna move on to Prop 5.
Do not like the idea. Many schools in Silicon Valley were built in the 50s and 60s, so administrators have been going to the voters for upkeep, from fixing leaky roofs to making needed heating and AC upgrades.
There are much needed resources that we require in order to operate our schools, in order to refurbish them, in order to meet the needs of our kids.
But sometimes local bond measures end up getting 65% of the vote, an overwhelming majority, but slightly less than the required 2/3 to pass. Proposition 5 on the November ballot would change that.
From 2/3 majority to 55% majority. So this would be specifically for local government bonds to support affordable housing and infrastructure projects. So it would make it easier, if it's approved, it would make it easier to pass those local measures.
And San Jose State political science professor Dr. Melinda Jackson says it comes with a community oversight provision. The Alum Rock School District applauds the proposition.
So this takes it back to basic democracy, saying, hey, if a community wants to go ahead and approve something, they'd rely on the simple majority, or even a slightly larger than a simple majority of their community in order to be able to approve a tax measure.
But the vice chair of the Santa Clara County Libertarian Party is voting no.
Trying to live affordably with a minimum wage law or minimum wages here in California, how are you going to do it with all these taxes going up and up and up?
Mark Hinkle says there are already 28 different tax measures on ballots across California. Too many, in his view. On November 5th, voters will decide. Damian Trujillo, NBC Bay Area News.
Okay, let's run that back real quick.
To meet the needs of our kids.
But sometimes local. One political analyst calls this process more democratic, majority rules, but libertarians do not like the idea. Many schools in Silicon Valley were built in the 50s and 60s, so administrators have been going to the voters for upkeep, from fixing leaky roofs to making needed heating and AC upgrades.
There are much needed resources that we require in order to operate our schools, in order to refurbish them, in order to meet the needs of our kids.
But sometimes local bond measures end up getting 65% of the vote, an overwhelming majority, but slightly less than the required 2/3 to pass. Proposition 5 on the November ballot would change that.
From 2/3 majority to 55% majority. So this would be specifically for local government bonds to support affordable housing and infrastructure projects. So it would make it easier, if it's approved, it would make it easier to pass those local measures.
And San Jose State political science professor Dr. Melinda Jackson says it comes with a community oversight provision. The Alum Rock School District applauds the proposition.
So this takes it back to basic democracy, saying, hey, if a community wants to go ahead and approve something, they'd rely on the simple majority, or even a slightly larger than a simple majority of their community in order to be able to approve a tax measure.
But the vice chair of the Santa Clara County Libertarian Party is voting no.
Trying to live affordably with a minimum wage law or minimum wages here in California, how are you going to do it with all these taxes going up and up and up?
Mark Hinkle says there are already 28 different tax measures on ballots across California. Too many, in his view. On November 5th, voters will decide. Damian Trujillo, NBC Bay Area News.
Right now, the California Constitution.
Okay, so is lowering the percentage rate down if we vote yes and make it more of a democracy. So, okay, let me look up more and see if I can find more information on this. Yes, lower voting threshold on local housing and infrastructure bonds. Prompt 5 will reduce the voting margin necessary to approve local bonds and taxes for affordable housing, transportation, parks, and other public infrastructure from 66.7% to 55%. The constitutional amendment, almost half. The constitutional amendment is established to eliminate the anti-democratic supermajority vote requirement that hinders the approval of local housing infrastructure bond. The current 2/3 supermajority vote threshold shift progress by making it extremely difficult to secure necessary funding for vital projects. Lowering the voting threshold to 55% enhances democratic participation and allows communities to address urgent housing shortage and infrastructure needs for more effectively by empowering local governments to act quickly. Prompt 5 promotes economic growth, improves quality of life, and ensure timely investment in essential public services and facilities. Okay. So you decide which one you want. You want to reduce it and make it a more even chance? Because if you don't, right now, if you don't get on housing and infrastructure, if you don't get 65% of the votes, they don't even look at it. So now they trying to even out the score and make it 55%, almost half. Okay, cool. All right, let me put my vote.
Bans the use of forced labor, but makes an exception when it's punishment for a crime. That means prisoners who don't have a qualifying exemption.
Okay, my bad. I didn't explain it. This is Prop 6.
Can be forced to work while incarcerated. Many do work that keep prisons running, like cooking, cleaning, and other tasks, including working on hand crews at wildfires. Proposition 6 would change that by making work while incarcerated fully voluntary. Assemblywoman Lori Wilson of Suisun City wrote a constitutional amendment that passed in the legislature, but voters will have the final say on the November ballot. A handful of other states have passed something similar to Prop 6. About 1/3 of all California prisoners work. Many of them are paid less than $1 per hour. Inmate firefighters can earn a few dollars an hour.
And it's not that there's necessarily anything wrong with the work assignments. It's that people should be able to choose. I actually need to focus on anger management. I need to focus on substance abuse. I want to get my college degree.
However, there are some key benefits to working, including the fact that incarcerated workers can also earn time credits that reduce their sentences. The ACLU of California supports Prop 6, partially because currently, if qualifying prisoners refuse to work, they could face consequences.
It could have the result of extending your incarceration because it takes away your earned credits. It also keeps you away from your family because you're denied family visits.
There are no official opponents to Prop 6. Some lawmakers had previously worried the state budget could take a multi-million-dollar hit if the Department of Corrections was required to pay the prisoners minimum wage. That led to a similar proposal being squashed in the state Senate 2 years ago. But Prop 6 says the prisons would set wages.
It's 2024. We absolutely have to get rid of arcane policies that prioritize exploitation over rehabilitation.
If passed, Prop 6 will go into effect on January 1st. Ian Cole, NBC Bay Area News.
Okay, that's an interesting one. So here at No Cuffs, No Chains, we do support prison reform, and we try to do anything we can for prisoners and people that was in jail or anything that want to come out and be adequate contributors to society. So me thinking about it and thinking about this prop, okay, I see what she's pushing for. She's saying, giving them the choice that they, if they want to work, they're still human beings inside, right? They're still human beings. Okay, they made mistakes. They did this. Some are habitual offenders. Sorry, I done made up a word, but habitual offenders. But sometimes some of these individuals mentally have mental issues and things like that need to be addressed. And I always said, and I always state, even here at No Cuffs, that people they're in there to be rehabilitated. So they're in there to try to figure out. I know we can't save all, like they say, no man left behind, but at least we can save some. But there's still human beings in there. So also to give them the choice. Okay, if they want to get the choice and not go, why punish them? But if they're choosing to go, hey man, I'm going to focus on my mental, right? Instead of working, let me go focus on my mental. Let me go to therapy. Let me go to counseling, stuff like that. They shouldn't be penalized, not just because they choose to do that, then work, or if they want to go get their education and actually become positive contributors to society. Why not do that? So, okay. Let me put in my vote. Okay, we're moving to Prop 32.
Should the minimum wage be raised again in California? That's what voters will decide on Prop 32. It would require all employees be paid at least $18 an hour. For larger companies, that would begin next year. For smaller companies, by 2026. Every year after that, the wage would be adjusted to keep pace with the cost of living in California.
Millions of people are working full time, but can't afford life's basic needs. And I think we can all agree that if you work full time, you shouldn't be living in poverty.
Joe Sandberg is an investor who proposed the initiative and donated $10 million to the Yes campaign. He says 2 million workers would make an extra $3,000 a year if the proposition passes, and adds raising the minimum wage is personal.
My mom raised me by herself in Southern California. We lost our home to foreclosure when I was a teenager, and my mom worked as hard as a mom could work and raised me and my brother to the best of her abilities.
The National Federation of Independent Business wrote the argument against Prop 32.
I think many times there's a feeling that this is a smack to big business, to big corporations. Most businesses, 99.2% of businesses in California, are small businesses on Main Street. They just don't have the ability to absorb those kinds of costs.
They point to what happened earlier this year after fast food workers' minimum wage increased to $20 per hour as an indicator of what could happen.
We have seen an increase in prices. We've seen more than 10,000 layoffs. We're seeing businesses convert to kiosks.
He argues Prop 32 would actually hurt workers in the long run and leave business owners with a tough decision.
Because they either have to do one of two things, raise prices, or more likely scale back shifts, positions, or entire benefits, or just let those people go.
But to that, Sandberg has this to say.
the people who oppose raising the minimum wage always seem to be people who have a profit motive, who will make more money if wages stay low.
If passed, employees would see that increase in their paychecks starting next year. If it fails, the minimum wage on January 1st will be $16.50 an hour. Ian Cole, NBC Bay Area News.
Okay, so now this one you have to really think strategic about it. Raising minimum wage here, raising it again. So me working in businesses and different companies, I don't honestly, I'm gonna be honest, especially for big companies. Yeah, I think the language should be a little different. Yeah, they just can't make this very vague. So, like I was saying, me and them worked in for big businesses. You raising it individuals, because individuals, I'm talking about for big companies. Now, little mom and pop shops and stuff like that, I think you need to rewrite the language. Need to rewrite it. Need to not make it so vague, or put in some bullet points or something for those individuals. But these big companies, man, they can afford that shit. They can afford that. They can afford to pay individuals because the people that's working are the backbone to their company. So you got people like McDonald's, Chipotle, like fast food restaurants. And you got to pay like Amazon and shit. They can afford. They making millions of dollars. They can afford to raise that minimum wage. But like you said, on the other hand, that's when price of shit going up. It's really not beneficial, because if you raise minimum wage, then you're raising the price of goods and shit like that. That's where issue becomes. That's where the problem is. Like, damn, it's like we take an inch, you know what I'm saying? We try to take an inch, y'all take a 2 inch. We take a step forward, we're taking 2 steps backward. So they have to keep everything where it's at. Don't raise shit. You can still raising people what $2 at 16 something, $1 and something more, and you oh, we got to raise prices even more. No, they're just being fucking greedy. They're just being fucking greedy. That's what it is. A lot of these companies can afford it. I'm not talking about the companies. I'm not talking about mom and pop shops. Even I done work for little local businesses that pays more than these big companies. You know what I'm saying? They're giving me more than, helping someone out, giving me more than these big companies. But you tell them you can't afford to pay 18. But if you're going to do that, you need to bring prices of goods and things down. It doesn't make sense. Even with getting fucking haircut now, motherfuckers want to charge. I got somebody hit me the other day, $100 for a haircut, and say, "Oh, I know my worth." Dude, $100 for a haircut. And I told him he got that kind of stuff. I would never pay you $100 for a haircut. Give a fuck who it is. Like $100 for a haircut is insane. And then you can see I got locks. I got the side shave and the edge. Are you kidding me? What are you doing this for? You trying to get rich? Like, if you're in your own business and you're trying to grow your own business, it's no off day. You're going to grind and make that money. $40 is better than nothing. $25 is better than nothing. I need to start learning how to cut hair. But back to the topic. So you vote. You got to think strategic with this one. But I think they need to make sure this language is not vague when they pass this, or if they don't pass it. If they do, then make sure the language is not vague and put bullet points in this shit. But big companies, a lot of companies can afford to pay that. Motherfucker just being cheap. Because you look at the P&L of a lot of companies, even companies I don't work for, paying employees is not an expensive cost than other shit. There's probably come 4th or 5th down the line. But come on, man. But anyways, moving on. Oh, let me vote.
For every renter, there's that stressful time of the year when the mail might hold a notice of a rent increase. Vicki Sanford Cobb knows that feeling well.
When I'm looking through the mail, I'm totally stressed.
In San Francisco, some 250,000 units built before 1979 fall under the city's rent control. But more modern buildings like Sanford Cobb's aren't covered by rent control, subjecting tenants to larger increases.
They up the rent, and then they up the rent again. So every year, basically, they start upping the rent.
For many residents, those annual increases may eventually price them out.
Once the rent go up and the food is up, that means we have to go without it.
We see it over and over and over, tenants who lose their homes because of rent increases.
Tenant organizers like Fred Sherbin-Zimmer of the San Francisco Housing Rights Committee will often cite the 1995 Costa-Hawkins Act, a state law that limited cities from expanding rent control. It's prevented San Francisco city leaders from expanding rent control to single-family homes and newer buildings.
That's not under rent control, that's not under rent control, that's not under rent control.
But Prop 33 on the November ballot could change that.
This measure would allow cities and counties to expand rent control to cover newer construction.
Prop 33 wouldn't automatically implement rent control statewide, but Daniel Anderson of the Yes on 33 campaign says it would give cities the option of enacting new rent controls, which he says could bring relief to many renters.
We see everywhere all across the state, folks are being priced out of their homes, priced out of their units. People can't afford to stay in the communities that they've grown up in.
There's so many things wrong with Prop 33, I don't know where to begin.
But Gustavo Gonzalez, a San Jose apartment owner, says expanding rent control would be a huge hit to landlords already strapped with many expenses.
We've saved our money and we've invested in an apartment building with the hopes that one day we could retire and have some income from that property. Well, that's not the way it's working with all of these rules and regulations that cities have mandated upon us.
San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan also opposes Prop 33. He believes an expansion of rent control will actually make it harder on low-income families.
Study after study has shown that while rent control can stabilize the folks who are lucky enough to be covered by it, it decreases investment in new housing, which is the single greatest need we have when it comes to affordability.
We also want to stay in the building and not end up on the streets.
Sanford Cobb is hopeful that Prop 33 would bring relief for her and other renters, making it safe to check the mailbox again. Joe Rosado Jr.
One step up and then you take 3 steps back.
NBC Bay Area News.
So she just said, basically said what I just said about the last prop. We just went over Prop 32. So rent control in California, they passed something earlier this year about landlords can't go up a certain percentage. But I know this is a big issue here in California where landlords, I feel like landlords are greedy. I can speak from that because I am one. I try to look out for people when I'm doing renting the place. That's for me, but I realize not everybody like me. But individuals are greedy and they will rent and they want more money in their pocket. They don't think strategic, even with Prop 32. When people don't think if you take care of your people, I feel like if you take care of your people, that people going to take care of you and your property. Not saying all, some. If you take care of your people, if you got a good person in your thing and you're renting some, or you got a good employee, take care of them. Shit. Like, hey, make sure they good. I'm not saying go broke trying to do it. I'm not saying that, but still. But everybody know people invest in real estate to get rich or whatever. Now this whole big thing around investing in real estate has grown tremendously big, and motherfuckers are getting greedy. I haven't seen landlords even now. They got a new thing now that they're doing. We're selling the property to get the person that's in out. That shit got to be stopped too. Get them out so they can come in and the one, they're not selling it. They are actually, I think they need to be penalized for that shit. If you're not selling it, you need to penalize it. Just be real. If you want them out, just say you want them out. Go another route, then lie to them. And, oh, I need them out. Like, oh, I'm selling it. And then you turn around and sell it. You put it back on the market because you can't raise it as much. Now you put it back on 3 times as much and get someone else in there that can afford it. Instead of $1,800 a month now, you got to get that person out that's paying $1,800 a month, get the new person in that's paying $2,800 a month. You know what I'm saying? Landlords are greedy. They're fucking greedy. So with the rent control, I think that help people. It just can't be vague. It has to be very specific. It has to outline and underline all issues where individuals, I think landlords shouldn't be able to continue to crazily increase on people's rent. Even these, if you build more buildings, they're still doing the same thing. I'm noticing California, they're building a lot of apartments and stuff like that. But the rent is fucking crazy. Then in the next couple months, a year, they're raising it even more. Like, what the fuck? Come on, man. You already making because you do the math. You got you do a unit or you got 20 buildings in there and you do the monthly whatever. I'm not finna break the math down, but I would love to do that because we ain't got that much time. I would love to do that. But if you do 20 buildings, whatever it took for you to cost, materials, all that, what's the loan or whatever at the end of it, I'm guarantee you in a couple years, you done paid yourself or paid that shit off. Now you got taxes and you still got to pay that, but I'm pretty sure you're getting money in your pocket. So if you go up a little bit and you keep it there, okay. Motherfuckers just greedy. But like I said, the cost of living is what's pushing people to landlords to go up because the cost of living crazy. So now they got to increase. I understand that part as well. I understand that shit as well because now, damn, I got to make something like the guy said, the property owner said, like, damn, the cost of living get up. So I have to go up a little bit to make ends meet on my side. And I know taxes went up too. The economy right now is trash. So Prop 33, hey, you know who that affects the most. So you vote yes or no, whatever you want to do. Look into that more. I think I'm gonna do more research on that before I vote on that. But on to the next one. What is this? Prop 34?
Proposition 34 would limit how certain healthcare providers spend revenues from a federal prescription drug program. Among those who would be impacted by the bill, the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, which serves 2 million people worldwide and has a clinic in San Francisco. The proposition is sponsored by the California Landlords Association.
Prop 34 ensures that federal money that's meant for patients actually gets to patients.
The measure applies to healthcare providers who have spent more than $100 million in any 10-year period on things other than direct patient care, and those who have run multifamily housing complexes with more than 500 high-severity health and safety violations. Under the bill, those who violate the new law could lose their tax-exempt status. Jackie Schechner with the AIDS Healthcare Foundation says the proposition unfairly targets her organization.
Proposition 34 is a revenge initiative. It is sponsored by the California Apartment Association, which are the corporate landlords, and they have put forth this proposition specifically to kneecap AHF because of its support for rent control.
Nathan Click with the Yes on 34 campaign disagrees.
We have a broad coalition of patient groups, of labor unions, yes, of some property owners who support this initiative because they believe that patient money should go towards patients. That includes the ALS Association, San Francisco Hep B Free.
The AIDS Healthcare Foundation says if Prop 34 passes, it will harm patients.
Tens of thousands of clients in California would be impacted by this. Absolutely. We would end up with people who get their HIV and AIDS care not being able to do so. We do all kinds of free STD testing and treatment. That would go away. We would be stripped of our nonprofit status.
Consumer Watchdog and the National Organization for Women are among those joining the fight against Prop 34. While State Assembly member Evan Lowe and the California Chronic Care Coalition are among those supporting the prop. Now it's up to voters to decide whether it will become law. In San Jose, Marianne Favreau, NBC Bay Area News.
Okay, let me do a little more research on this. I'm just looking up some stuff real quick. Vote yes, require healthcare providers to spend over $100 million in any 10-year period on any other than direct patient care and operate operated multi-family housing with over 500 high healthy Malaysia 98% of revenue. Okay, it looks so. My comprehension of this is, look like if you vote yeah, you allow people to spend money, allow to spend money elsewhere. You know, now they said multi-family housing, but if patient care, if it's for patient care, the money should be for patient care. That's just me, thinking. I'm gonna do more research on that. Like I said, I don't have much time, so we're gonna move on. But why would that would be my question? Why would it go to anything else but patient care? That's what the money's supposed to be for. But dealing with shit like this, money ends up in the wrong places sometime. But that's all I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna leave that alone. Then you know. All right, moving on.
Prop 35 looks like one of the more complex issues on the ballot, but basically it's asking if a healthcare tax already in place should stay there permanently. It would also require that any money collected be used to offset Medi-Cal costs instead of just going into the state's general fund. It's backed by both the California Democratic and Republican parties, along with many first responders, doctors, and hospitals.
This is not going to do anything to your commercial plan. This is not going to do anything to your premiums. This is an existing tax on health insurance companies that they've willingly paid, and they are willing to continue paying so that the money comes back to fund the care for California peoples.
Medi-Cal is the state's public insurance plan for economically disadvantaged families and residents with disabilities. But many doctors and specialists don't take it, according to Dr. Tanya Spiritos. She says Prop 35 would also help change that.
We can't afford to have so many hospitals, emergency rooms, and clinics closing their doors because the reimbursements for care don't meet the cost of care.
And the for argument itself says Prop 35 prevents the state from redirecting these funds for non-healthcare purposes and requires that 99% of the revenues must go to patient care. It caps administrative expenses.
And we have a nature-based solution to sea level rise and climate change. This is exactly what the bond could fund more of.
Can't afford to have
My bad.
so many hospitals, emergency rooms, and clinics closing their doors because the reimbursements for care don't meet the cost of care.
And the for argument itself says Prop 35 prevents the state from redirecting these funds for non-healthcare purposes and requires that 99% of the revenues must go to patient care. It caps administrative expenses at 1%.
A third of the people in California use Medi-Cal as their access to healthcare. Half of the children in California, this would be the biggest investment in history. And what we're doing is ensuring that these dollars that are healthcare dollars, so they're from health plans, that healthcare dollars are being spent in healthcare.
The tax is set to expire in 2 years, so a yes vote would extend it and require the money to go to Medi-Cal programs. A no vote would allow it to expire. Currently, there is no official opposition to Prop 35. Ian Cole, NBC Bay Area News.
Okay.
When I grew up in Jamaica, everyone.
Okay. That seemed like it's just very understandable. So I'm gonna read this. A yes vote on this measure means an existing state tax on health plan that provides funding for certain health programs would become permanent. Not new rule would direct how the state must use the revenue. A no vote on this measure and existing state tax on health plans would end in 2027 unless the legislation continues. The new rule would not become law. No argument against 35 was submitted. Yes on 35 addresses our urgent healthcare crisis by securing dedicated funding without raising taxes to protect access to primary and community clinics, hospitals, ERs, family planning, and mental health providers. Prompt 35 prevents the state from redirecting funds or for non-care healthcare purposes supported by Planned Parenthood. Oh, okay. Okay. So if you want to continue, so you're voting if you want to continue this legislation and keep it from ending in 2027, the additional money, they will still tax the companies and the money would go directly back to the healthcare instead of being put in the government funding. So that's how you vote. That one's pretty straightforward. I feel that's pretty straightforward. All right, let's continue. Let's continue on.
In my block, everybody know each other.
In a quiet corner of Oakland's uptown neighborhood, Nigel Jones is sharing the flavors of his native Kingston, Jamaica.
This place is Calabash Restaurant. It's a Jamaican restaurant.
His kitchen turns out dishes like ceviche and the Jamaican staple of jerk chicken.
When I come to this country, I always wanted to recreate that community flavor.
But lately, Jones has had a sour taste in his mouth as his restaurant has fallen victim to crime.
This one right here was broken, big hole right here.
Last month, someone smashed one of his windows.
Given the fact that it's a 2-pane window, it's $3,000.
The glass was hardly repaired when someone smashed another window, costing him another big chunk of change.
So that's $6,000 in less than 2 months that I have to come out of my own pocket.
Jones says Oakland's ongoing reputation as unsafe has hurt businesses like his, which are still trying to dig out from the pandemic.
That alone just freaks a lot of people out.
The frustration has inspired Jones to lend his support to Proposition 36, a state measure that would increase penalties for drug crimes and theft.
You cannot run a city or any community where people just feel that they can do whatever they want to within their own community, damage the community, and there's no penalty.
Prop 36 would amend Prop 47, which was passed by California voters in 2014. 47 reduced penalties for many drug crimes and made theft, where the overall value of the items taken was below $950, a misdemeanor.
That was the law that actually fueled the retail theft crisis, where people can steal up to $950 every day, multiple times a day, every day of the week.
Yolo County District Attorney Jeff Reisig says Prop 47 led to an explosion of crime as addicts turned to retail theft and smash and grabs to feed their addictions without fear of serious punishment.
Prop 36 will fix that by bringing back penalties for recidivists, for people that steal again and again. And it'll also bring what's called a mandated treatment felony to people who use hard drugs like fentanyl, methamphetamine, heroin, cocaine.
Prop 36, which is largely funded by retailers Walmart and Target, would also increase sentences for fentanyl dealers in possession of guns. Reisig believes the proposition also addresses key issues that have led to an increase in homelessness. But Bay Area criminal defense attorney David Briggs believes Prop 36 is a big step backward.
Prop 36 is a profoundly dishonest and cynical measure.
He says it will largely target the poor and ultimately won't help break the addiction cycle or, for that matter, theft.
Prop 36 isn't going to solve homelessness. You're still going to have homeless people who are desperate in these communities. It's not going to solve drug addiction. You're still going to have drug addicts who are desperate for money to get a fix. It's just a wrong-headed approach.
It's very difficult for any business to sustain itself.
As Jones fights for the life of his restaurant and his dream, he believes something has to change. He sees crime as a tough problem that requires tough love. Joe Rosado Jr.,
law-abiding citizens are not doing this stuff.
NBC Bay Area News.
So I was just thinking that shit. I was like, man, when he said it, okay, yeah, people breaking in, yeah, because it has been a lot of individuals breaking into into businesses taking over. If you don't take over 950, it's a misdemeanor. But the thing I didn't like is when he stated, let's go back. Let's go back to this dude right here. Okay.
As addicts turn to retail theft and smash and grabs to feed their addictions without fear of serious punishment.
Prop 36 will fix that by bringing back penalties for recidivists, for people that steal again and again. And it'll also bring what's called a mandated treatment felony to people who use hard drugs like fentanyl, methamphetamine, heroin, cocaine.
Prop 30.
Okay. What the fuck? How? My bad. I try to keep my opinion out of certain shit, especially during the voting. You vote how you're going to vote, people. But I don't, for me, got a nonprofit of trying to help individual drug addicts, veterans, prison reform, and adopted kids, right? Me building this nonprofit, that just pissed me off. And I take this shit serious. How are you giving a felony, this prop, giving a felony to a person that's a repeated user of drugs, giving them a felony and supposedly putting them in prison, supposed to help. So I'm supposed to use air quotes during supposed to help, but I got a little pissed off, so I lost track of what I was saying. But how is that fucking helping, dude? I'm supposed to keep my opinion out of this shit, but that just pissed me off. How is that going to help people? How? I have changed my mindset of how I look at people that use drugs now, because I don't know what they fighting. I don't know what demons they're fighting. I don't know what they've been through. I don't know what the issue is. Some people are using that shit to escape. So how is that giving them a felony where you're fucking up their record? You're fucking up them possibly of getting better and then trying to get a job and all that. How is that going to help? I was like, okay, when you're talking about, okay, people breaking the businesses and keep doing it in 950, whatever. But then you added that shit. That's not fucking helping. I'm gonna have to do more research on this, man. Because the lawyer at the end right here. Let's go back. He basically said what I was thinking.
36, which is largely funded by retailers Walmart and Target, would also increase sentences for fentanyl dealers in possession of guns. Reisig believes the proposition also addresses key issues that have led to an increase in homelessness.
How?
But Bay Area criminal defense attorney David Briggs believes Prop 36 is a big step backward.
Prop 36 is a profoundly dishonest and cynical measure.
He says it will largely target the poor and ultimately won't help break the addiction cycle or, for that matter, deter theft.
Prop 36 isn't going to solve homelessness. You're still going to have homeless people who are desperate in
For
these
real.
communities. It's not going to solve drug addiction. You're still going to have drug addicts who are desperate for money to get a fix. It's just a wrong-headed approach.
That he said exactly what I was thinking. Like, how in the fuck that's going to help? Like, that's not okay. So you vote however you gonna vote, man. But that just don't sit right with me. And then it look like it's targeting, like you said, it's targeting a certain group of people, right? And we ain't the only ones doing the fucking theft. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But that's just fucking crazy. It need to be another way of helping people, the drug addicts and people that's repeated offenders, because it's something else wrong there. You can't save everybody, but come on, man. Like, come on. Like, yeah. All right. We got two more on here. This video did a pretty good job of explaining most of those props, but we have two more on the ballot. It's another bond for schools, Riverside Community College District. College district career preparation, affordable higher education to repair, upgrade local community colleges, improve access to affordable higher education for career. This is This is not even a prop. It's just a vote, a yes or no. This is a vote, yes or no. So it say to repair, upgrade local community colleges, improve access to affordable higher education for career/skilled trades, university transfer, provide safe drinking water, meet earthquake, disability, access and safety regulations, upgrade security, acquire construction, repair facilities, sites, equipment, Shell Riverside Community College District measures be adopted, authorized 954 million in bonds at legal rates, levying 19% of 100,000 of access variables, 57 million annual, while bonds are outstanding with oversight, audit, spending, and disclosures. Okay, so you can vote on that if you want them to repair community colleges. What's the next one? City of Moreno Valley essential services reauthorization measures to maintain critical Moreno Valley services, including 911 responses, times, robbery, burglary, prevention, neighborhood police patrols, fire services levels, address homelessness, repair streets, potholes, keep public areas safe, clean, help retain businesses, and general government use. Shall the measure establish a local control $1.01, transaction and use sale tax. First enacted by local voters in 2021, generate approximately 30,000 annually until end by voters with audit/spending disclosure to be adopted /30 million. 30 million. My bad. I got ADHD, so my mind be thinking about shit. When I see a word, I just, oh shit. Oh, but yeah. Okay, so that's the props on the California ballot. I'm going to finish voting and doing what I need to do. We didn't do the people part of it on this one, but I think the props are more important right now, and then we'll get to the people part of it later. Whoever you vote for, like we always say on No Cuss, man. Do your research. This is our first year doing this, so we did Florida last week. We're doing California. I'm doing California by myself today. Liv will be back probably tonight. This gonna be probably a 2-part, because we're gonna come on tonight and talk a little more. Man, I thank y'all for listening. My bad, I get a little when I hear dumb shit. But vote the way you need to vote. Vote strategic, vote smart, educate yourself. It don't take time to educate. That's a good thing about YouTube University. It has shit on there if you're a visual learner. And I had to Google some shit too, because some of the shit they were saying, I got to look, what? Didn't understand, so I had to go read it to make it make sense as well. So I have to do both. So yeah, man. So like we always say, man, I appreciate y'all for listening. Y'all got any questions? Join us tonight, man. When we get on and go to talk and take questions, we're gonna watch the poll. If it's not tonight, we're gonna do it tomorrow. I'm giving Liv the benefit of the doubt, because we're gonna try to watch the polls tomorrow and commentate on them, man. But like we always say, go like, follow, subscribe. Like, I'm gonna say that shit again. Go like, follow, subscribe, man. No cuss, no change. Man, support us. We're gonna eventually we're gonna be dropping nonprofit. I say we're gonna drop it officially, or drop it, and we're gonna need support, man. We could definitely need support, because we're not trying to. We're trying to really make a change out here. All right. So like I say, and just stay tuned for that. Like I say, we have love, peace, and a solid mind, man. Let me go finish voting. Let me go return this shit in, because today is November 5th. If you haven't voted, go vote. If you didn't vote, it's okay. Whatever. But if you have vote, go vote, man. And I'm out. Let me go do this. I got 2 hours, I think, to go submit this shit. But Y'all have a blessed one, man. Like I say again, I'm gonna say it again. Have love, peace, and a solid mind. I'm out.